Kitchen right here, refrigerator, stove. It's the Ferrari right here. Keep the Ferrari for good luck. My Egyptian style furniture, the lion.
Rick Ross allegedly made moves behind Lil Meech's back, and insiders claim it wasn't just business, it was betrayal. Reports say Ross manipulated contracts, twisted the numbers, and quietly cut Lil Meech out of major profits tied to the entire BMF brand. The fallout left Meech not only broke but deeply humiliated. A harsh blow for someone carrying the heavy legacy of his father's empire on his shoulders. Even worse, 50 Cent, who had warned Lil Meech about trusting Ross, couldn't resist throwing shade online, dropping a cold and calculated, "I told him how this would end." That post hit like a bullet across social media. The hip-hop community instantly erupted, arguing whether Ross had outsmarted everyone once again, or whether this was pure karma finally catching up with him. Now fans across the internet are asking one brutal question: who really runs the BMF legacy now? For Lil Meech, it's been nothing short of a nightmare. His empire appears to be crumbling. His show got axed and even his biggest supporters have gone silent. The same people who once hyped his rise are now whispering about his fall. One minute he was Hollywood's rising star. The next he's watching everything slip right through his hands. But here's where things take a wild twist. Interview.
All that because it was still my start. So I was just going to the stars, building, the company building, meeting with the execs, and there might be one or two execs in there, and they just.
According to insiders, Rick Ross might have just pulled off one of the pettiest power plays in recent hip-hop history. The chatter suggests that Ross's motive wasn't only control, it was revenge. Sources claim he made a strategic move that completely shook the music scene in Atlanta, breaking long-standing alliances and setting off a wave of tension in power circles. Ever since, fans have been questioning just how far Rick Ross is willing to go to keep his name cemented among the elite. These streets, the industry, and the fans all want to know, how deep does Ross's game really go? How did Lil Meech go from being the next big thing to losing everything in record time? At one point, he was living the dream. The face of the hit TV show BMF. His acting career was on fire. The checks were rolling in and his name was shining bright in Hollywood lights. But everything flipped the second Rick Ross entered the picture. And that's when the story took a dark turn. Ross, a master manipulator with a long track record of quiet chess moves behind the scenes, reportedly got close to Big Meech after his release from prison. But according to insiders, that move wasn't about loyalty or respect. It was about strategy. Sources claim Ross used that bond to subtly take shots at 50 Cent, reigniting one of the most bitter rivalries hip-hop has ever seen. And the plan worked perfectly. Within weeks, chaos hit like a bomb. Out of nowhere, 50 Cent made a shocking call. He pulled the plug on the BMF series overnight. No warnings, no statements, no explanations, just complete silence. Lil Meech's primary source of money abruptly disappeared.
So look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Fuqua, what's up? Tarantino.
His once bright career fell chilly, and his access to Hollywood vanished. The red carpet ceased to ring. The cameras that used to follow him everywhere vanished in an instant, and the million-dollar endorsements stopped coming in. The slide was terrible, from hopes of a penthouse to empty rooms. In real life, treachery looks like this. Ross set fire to the entire block, not just a bridge. Years of diligence, camaraderie, and advancement were reduced to smoke. Due to Ross's decision to use the lives of actual people as fuel for his continuous conflict with 50 Cent. What started out as a promising ascent to fame turned into a warning about loyalty, trust, and how one well-thought-out power move can quickly ruin everything. Rick Ross was unable to resist. He had to make everything about him. Ross put gasoline on the fire and boasted online that he was untouchable, rather than waiting for the situation to calm down. "I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a dull small budget series. Now it's time for a big movie," he wrote on social media. He also didn't end there. Ross began dropping famous names from Hollywood, such as F. Gary Gray and Quentin Tarantino, asserting that his rendition would be legendary. However, the act was obvious to everyone who was paying attention. This has nothing to do with respect, art, or heritage preservation. It was a clear jab at 50 Cent. The BMF tale was not being honored by Ross. He was abusing it to gain influence. transforming something holy into a showy vanity project designed to inflate his ego and make headlines. We must go back in time to the early 2000s in order to fully comprehend the scope of this issue, when BMF was more than simply a brand. It was a full-fledged movement. Big Meech was the ruler of hip-hop luxury back then. He was more than simply a legend on the streets. He was a living representation of power, success, and flair. The grandiose parties, the vehicles, and the gems were all out of this world. Every city he visited felt the weight of his presence. The vibe in a room suddenly shifted when Big Meech entered. During the same period, a young, ambitious 50 Cent was quickly rising through the hip-hop ranks, delivering songs like Get Rich or Die Trying, and transforming personal hardship into platinum success. His genuineness, hustle, and poetry made him unstoppable. The industry feared him, the streets revered him, and his name began to evoke the same spirit that BMF stood for. Supremacy, strength, and fortitude. Big Meech and 50 Cent were two forces that would eventually clash in unexpected ways. What began as respect between two aspirational titans became a complex web of rivalry, allegiance, and treachery that continues to reverberate across hip-hop today. 50 Cent told stories that were genuine, unvarnished, and unadulterated. And that's precisely when Big Meech's and his enthusiasm matched. Man, he accomplished a lot for everyone. Lamborghinis, Banks. I don't care that Banks drove a Lamborghini. Man, that's going to snow. I even put it in the garage. Take your time. There was no denying the spark between them, and he took a photo with no back against the wall, just ambition and respect. Tony Yo claims that the two had more in common than just business. They were really brothers. Yayo even remembered times when 50 would hang out at Big Meech's estate as a little Lily. Meech ran around the living room and the adult men talked about their common aspirations and business legacy. It wasn't about deals, contracts, or celebrity back then. It was about respect for one another, loyalty, and hard work. On the basis of pure principles, two superpowers are connected. But things changed over time. Lil Meech was raised with the intention of carrying the same torch, wishing to live up to the legendary name of his father. However, the industry Big Meech left behind was not the one he entered. The laws had changed, the streets had changed, and loyalty had lost its meaning. In the meantime, 50 Cent had developed into a corporate tycoon and strategic force on an alternative level. He was no longer seeking attention or approval. He was creating worldwide liquor brands, production firms, TV empires, real estate empires spanning countries and legacies. 50 was more than simply a game of checkers. He was engaged in a chess match, while everyone else was still attempting to comprehend the board. The major division started at that point. Strategy versus showmanship, discipline versus want. 50 was more dangerous than pure flash because of his patience. Then came the pivotal moment, the most audacious action of all. Cent took action when Lil Meech was ignored by the entertainment world. Doors were closing, and no one had faith in him. Others didn't see the young man the way he did. He put money, time, and expertise into it. He personally helped Lil Meech hone his acting skills by sending him to acting school.craft and helped him develop a career apart from his father's shadow. It went beyond simple mentoring. It was a second chance at legacy, opportunity, and structure. Lil Meech wasn't the only character in 50. He provided him with guidance, demonstrating how belief may occasionally alter a person's entire fate. It was the kind of real mentoring you don't often see in the business these days. Tony Yo attested to this, stating, "From what I observed, 50 was the one who actually believed in him. And that's exactly what makes this fallout so heartbreaking. The same man who helped Lil Meech find his purpose in that acting training turned out to be pure gold. Now Game is watching him get torn apart by someone he once considered an ally. Everything changed instantly after Lil Meech was hired for the BMF position. His name went viral on talk shows, magazine covers, red carpets, and headlines. He was everywhere. And 50 Cent was by his side the entire time, mentoring and shielding him at every turn. To the general public, it appeared to be a genuine father-son relationship based on mutual ambition, trust, and mentorship. However, there is a darker side to all that success and glitz was simmering. As Lil Meech's popularity skyrocketed, rumors began to circulate that Big Meech wasn't too pleased with his son's proximity to 50 Cent. At first, the stress was mild, but it eventually increased. 50 even suggested that Big Meech might have been steering in a post that has since been removed, encouraging his son to follow the fast-paced, ostentatious lifestyle that almost ruined everything years. However, it was said that Big Meech was giving him the opposite. An exhilarating taste of the mayhem that characterized his own history. In real time, two worlds, two perspectives, and two distinct meanings of success collide. Lil Meech stood in the center of it all, divided between two father figures, one preaching stability while the other is based on danger and legacy. His entire future was ultimately shaped by this tug of war. And it wasn't only tension that resulted from everything ultimately blowing up. What they had created together was totally ruined. No matter how much it became hard to conceal the flaws, they were surrounded by success or renown. According to reports, 50 Cent was engaged in silent conflicts that most fans were unaware of behind the flashing lights, the fancy cars, and the red carpets. He wasn't merely attempting to make Lil Meech well-known. He was attempting to elevate him. 50 desired Lil Meech should strive for longevity, rather than merely attention. He saw him as a future powerhouse, an actor, producer, and businessman who could proudly and wisely leave a legacy. However, a number of insiders claim that Lil Meech's associates had quite different goals. According to reports, Big Meech was no longer influenced by the 1950s. He was allegedly pushing his son to live fast and loud in order to maintain the old-school BMF vibe. Rather than promoting maturity and discipline, the feds collapsed due to the same energy that once made BMF legendary, and it was now threatening to happen again. The conflict between Big Meech's wild vision and 50's meticulous approach escalated into a full-fledged conflict. Lil Meech is caught in the midst of a conflict between two success blueprints. This was more than a personal conflict. It was an clash between generations. Big Meech grew up in a culture where success equated to flashy automobiles, street respect, and risky allegiance. Power and turmoil were the foundation of his empire. But 50 Cent had already experienced that. He had been shot, deceived, and abandoned. He understood how that empire might disappear in an instant. 50 was now composed, astute, and methodical, moving like a strategy. It had nothing to do with control or ego when he advised Lil Meech to avoid drugs, diversions, and harmful influences. It has to do with surviving. 50 wasn't attempting to stop him. He was attempting to shield him from the same errors that had almost cost him everything. It had nothing to do with control. It was about hard-won wisdom and love. 50 had witnessed far too many young artists succumb to self-destruction, ego, and attention-seeking. He was understood how simple it was to lose everything while pursuing the wrong type of notoriety. However, Big Meech was unable to let go of the image that had made him a legendary figure, because he was still deeply ingrained in that legendary attitude. He continued to exalt the same fast life spirit that created the BMF empire, but he also destroyed everything associated with it. According to people close to the issue, sadly, his kid was now straddling the same perilous line between success and failure. He was being tormented by the need to live up to his father's reputation. Then came 50 Cent's post, which shocked the whole business. "I believe he was uncomfortable with my relationship with Meech," he stated. The remark, "I'm telling Meech not to mess with certain things, and he's telling him he used to do it like it's something cool," went right to the heart of the conflict. A mentor attempting to create the future versus a parent stuck in the glories of the past. One young man was being pulled in opposing directions by influences, and finally something had to give. That breaking point came quickly, and the last straw came when 50 disclosed that he had to send Lil Meech to rehab after rumors about substance abuse appeared behind the scenes. Finally said, "Enough is enough," at which point everything turned upside down. Imagine devoting time, money, and effort to someone you believe in, only to see the same demons you attempted to shield them from begin to resurface, and moved away entirely, causing the dominoes to fall in an instant. The BMF show was shut down, funding dried up, and every significant opportunity associated with Meech's name disappeared overnight. This was not only a professional fallout, but also a very personal one. 50 had been more than just a boss. He had been a mentor, almost a father figure in the industry, and his absence left more than just a career void. It left a personal one as well. Losing that relationship was like cutting off the oxygen to Meech's entire career. As 50 Cent withdrew, things quickly fell apart. However, Meech didn't make matters any easier for himself either. As soon as the money started coming in, he started living like a rapper in overdrive, fast, loud, and reckless, instead of moving like a focused actor creating longevity. Exotic automobiles, constant shopping sprees, expensive designer clothing. It became a daily display of excess. He became preoccupied with the image rather than the work. Tony Yo even pointed it out, stating that Meech was wearing Chrome Hearts trousers and Richard Miller watches that cost $10,000 apiece. That's not achievement. That's careless spending. Yayo likened it to the early Gunit era, when they were also living in luxury. But the difference was that 50 Cent always had a strategy behind the scenes. Every decision he made, whether it was about automobiles, watches, or real estate, was well thought out. He transformed every luxury into an investment by flipping assets into long-term wealth. But Lil Meech was more interested in getting likes and attention than leaving a lasting legacy. His social media accounts turned into a highlight reel of extravagance, complete with flashy mansions, Ferraris, and designer-decorated walls. He wanted to appear as though he was living the life of his dreams. Even Lil Meech proudly displayed his opulent home in one now famous video, declaring, "This is my kitchen right here," as if that dream was subtly fading away behind the scenes. For good fortune, I kept the Ferrari. The lion is my Egyptian furniture. It was the ideal representation of what had gone awry. The popularity had become a trap, and by the time reality finally hit, it was already too late. Glitz without grounding, fame without focus. Everything 50 had attempted to warn him against, ego, distractions, and false priorities, was now totally engulfing him. Late. He adored the old-fashioned opulence of marble flooring, gold fixtures, and Egyptian statues, but behind those lavish walls, the business was slowly crumbling from the inside out and the money was quickly drying up. Insiders are criticizing Rick Ross behind closed doors, claiming he turned mentorship into manipulation. The same man who advocates for generational wealth and boss moves is now accused of destroying a young artist's entire foundation. That's not business. That's betrayal wrapped in a suit and a smile. What's crazy is that Ross seems proud of it, showing off his influence as if he just pulled off a power move instead of breaching someone's trust. Big Meech's involvement in this storm is nuanced. On the one hand, he's a father attempting to preserve his legacy and his son's right to the BMF name. But on the other, he's siding with a man who is obviously abusing that same legacy for his own benefit. It's difficult to determine whether Big Meech is acting strategically or is simply blinded by old-school loyalty. His choices are affecting Lil Meech's future in ways that could cause lifelong harm. If Big Meech continues to support Ross, the consequences could be severe for both his son and the BMF as a whole. The legacy that once stood for solidarity, fraternity, and power now appears to be split in two. Ross's version, which is loud, ostentatious, and driven by ego, and 50 Cent's version, which is calculating, professional, and rooted in respect. Lil Meech is caught between the two, watching his dreams vanish, and it's a warning about what happens when pride and allegiance collide in the spotlight. If you like this analysis, be sure to like, subscribe, and share to stay up to speed on all the latest developments. His father's name slipped through his fingers while the world disputes who's actually defending the BMF legacy. Deep dives in the newest hip-hop drama. Remember to switch on your alerts to ensure you never miss a twist in these fantastical tales.